Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to be going over how to make this cup holder for like a wheelchair application. Basically, this is for a camp that we will be modeling and 3D printing this cup holder design. This design is based off of a design from last year that involved using clamps that look similar to this that were purchased from McMaster-Carr. So yeah, we're just trying to eliminate any or a lot of the purchase components and just have everything assembled together with just nuts and bolts, which we already have in the shop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how to model, sort of all aspects of the cup holder as you see it now. All right, so to make our cup holder, we're going to first start with like the cup holding part of it, and then we'll go ahead and we'll make the clamps after the fact. All right, now the dimensions I'm going to use are kind of arbitrary. I think it should be up to you guys to figure out what cup you want to hold so you can measure the cup, and then figure out also what wheelchair you're going to be using. I sort of made guesses as to what these geometries would be, without actually really knowing them. So you could pay attention to the way I constructed this, but certainly double check with your specific wheelchair and cup as to which specific dimensions you should use. Okay, so we're going to start a sketch on here. All right. What I'm going to do first is we're going to draw a circle here. Okay, we're going to make this circle. We can make it 3.25. That's the way I did it before. Okay. Um, Now what we're gonna do, it looks like I made a rectangle. So going up to grab the center point rectangle, or yeah, center rectangle. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab up at the top point there. See how I got that icon? Basically, don't want that one. I want that one with the vertical line and the point. Okay. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to put the next, put the very corner on the edge of the circle. Okay. So what that basically means is that like the distance from the center point of the rectangle to here, to that edge there will be the same as from the center point of the rectangle to where the box sort of meets up with the circle. Not that that's particularly important, but yeah, that's how I modeled it. Um, Now what I'll do is go to 2.5 with that dimension. Again, just because that's what I had before. Now it should be known that everything is fully defined now, which is good, right? So I guess that's another reason why it's maybe helpful to make the center point of the rectangle on the edge of the circle as well as the corner, and that's because like once you set the width of this rectangle, it sets all the other locations of all the other corners and everything like that. So it's made fully defined. Okay, which is definitely what you want for any sketch before you exit. You always want to make sure everything is black, and then you get the fully defined thing down here in the lower right hand corner where you see my mouse. Okay, so now we're gonna exit that sketch. Okay, um, and now what we're gonna do is we are going to extrude portions of it. Okay, so we're gonna go extrude a boss base. I'm gonna click that edge there. Okay, great. I did that one correctly. And we're going to extrude this to, I don't know, 2.5 inches. How does that look? And we could probably go a little bit deeper. Let's go to 3. Again, these are sort of arbitrary dimensions. I want you to figure out what sort of dimension your cup holder is and then go with that. Okay. So now what we're going to do after we've done the circle, well, first we could show the sketch so that we could see it. We're gonna extrude this rectangle, after we've made that circle. Okay, so extrude a boss base once again. This one is only going to go to 0.5. Okay, that's looking good. Gonna click check there, and as you can see, we've made a little platform. Okay, so after we make that little platform, the next step would be to make our our circle, or yeah, basically one half of the clamp. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sketch on that plane. So once we're in the sketch, we're going to make a center line first, coming over. Uh, Now what we're going to do is going to do a center point circle, going to there and out to there. Okay. And then we can also make that one for construction. And then let's dimension it. So smart dimension. There's a bunch of different ways you might want to do this. So we're going to make this 1 inch across, okay, which will be half an inch in radius. Okay. And so now let's make it so that we have a full line, or a fully defined solid line for that top part. Okay, so I went to both of the ends of the circle, and then now I'm going to click the actual edge of the circle, and we can see we have that fully defined black line. Okay. After we have that one line, we're going to make another arc, I guess, from that center point. Okay. So we're going to go again to the arc, but instead of the 3-point arc, we're going to do a center point arc. We're going to go from there, and we're going to go to there, and then we're going to go all the way around. I guess we'll go back to there a little bit farther than that horizontal line. Okay, and then what we're going to do is come over here, make that horizontal line extended a little bit more. All right, and then we're just going to go ahead and trim those entities. Okay. So yeah, this is good. It's making it so that it's fully defined with only one dimension. Now you got to realize, I guess, this thickness here is basically pegged to how thick I made that like 1/2 inch block there. Um, so yeah, you could make this portion thicker if you wanted to. And it would obviously increase that one, but it's kind of nice to only have to dimension one thing, and this will be, thick enough. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another tangent arc, and we're going to go from here over to there. Okay, and just finish out that loop. Okay, and that's cool. It made it fully defined, so it knew to make that tangent, this and this arc tangent, as well as this and this arc. So it can be fully defined. All right, great. Oh, and I should also put just a quick little line from here to here. Okay, great. So now that shape is fully defined, and we could go ahead and extrude it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to extruded boss base, and we're going to go to up to surface, and we're going to select that surface there, and there we go. It made it go the whole length. Okay. Now, yeah, that's good. But I guess what we're yeah, so we could change this in a number of ways to kind of make it look a little bit slicker. Really, I guess, another thing this helps is makes it so that we don't need to have super long hardware, because right now, if we wanted to put a bolt through this portion here, through that portion where my mouse is, the bolt would have to be 2 inches long, right? Or however, yeah, 2.5 inches long. So we probably don't have a bolt that's that long. Even if we do, you probably want to make it shorter anyways. So again, I'm going to make those portions a little bit narrow. I'm gonna make 2 clamps on either end by basically cutting out a chunk in the middle. All right, so I'm going to sketch on that portion. I am going to go and make a center line. I'm going to go find the midpoint of that sketch there, and I'm going to go all the way up to the edge of the part up on the top there. Okay, I'm going to once again do a center rectangle, and I'm going to go from the middle of that line to the outer edge there. And the dimension I used was 1.5, which makes each one of the clamps on either side um, have an inch. So let's exit that sketch. Let's go extrude a cut, and we'll go two directions, making both of them through all. Okay, cool. So that it, obviously cuts them all out. Okay, great. So cool. We have those portions of the clamps. Okay. So now what we need to do is basically make some geometry here so that we can kind of bolt two halves of these together, like I showed you in the beginning. All right. So after we've cut out the gap in the middle, it's time to define the geometry of the this half of the clamp a little bit further. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a plane halfway between these two faces. So by just clicking the new plane and then two faces, it'll prompt you to do a mid plane. Okay, so it'll basically make a plane smack dab in the middle of those two guys there. Okay, so I'm going to click check on that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sketch on that plane that I just made. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the center point circle. Okay, I'm going to hover over the edge of the small arc there. Okay, and you can see it gives us a center point there. So I'm going to bring my cursor over the center point, make sure I get that icon, click down, and then I'm going to click out somewhere in space. Okay. So we're going to make this guy here 0.3. 0.3. Again, that's going to kind of be out in space, but this will give clearance so that when you when the two halves of this sort of hinge, they don't interfere with each other and they can sort of open wide. So we're going to exit that. Okay, now we're going to go to extruded cut. All right, and we're going to have it go in two directions, 0.125 each way. Okay, that should look pretty good. All right, there we go. So now we have that sort of cleared out slot, and it's going to be a 1/4 inch wide. We'll just show you that it is 1/4 inch wide. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our whole geometry. Okay, so we're gonna sketch on here onto one of those faces. Okay, we need to create both a counterbore hole and a tapped hole. And I'll show you what both of those are. And it's going to be helpful for us to, well, actually, sorry, first let's finish our sketch. So we're in the sketch, we're on this face. Again, I'm going to hover over that edge and it's going to prompt me to, it's going to give me a center point. I'm going to click that, our point. That's the point up here in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to click that right in the very center of that arc. Okay, we're going to click check. All right, and we're going to click exit sketch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to our features tab up here, upper left-hand corner. We're going to do hole wizard, and we're going to do two holes at this location. So we're going to click on hole wizard. So you see there's several different hole types. And it looks like it's already gone to our location there. But if I wanted to, I could go to positions, okay, and I could delete that if I wanted to. Go back to positions, and it'll prompt you to add one. Okay, but before we add one, let's specify the type. Okay, so socket head cap screw, and we're going to use a number 2 screw for this. Okay, so that's a 256. I forget what the major diameter is of that, but basically it's a very small screw with 56 threads per inch. End condition we'll do up to next. Okay, and that all looks pretty good. So we're going to go to positions, and then we're going to go over here. Hopefully it hovers over. Come on. There we go. Now it's found that location. Okay, and you can see it goes to the next position. All right, so let's click check. All right, so we can see here that it's created a hole in the middle. Okay, that's small. And then a hole, sorry, a hole that goes all the way through, that's small. And then another hole that stops at that face there, that's slightly bigger. Okay. So basically, if you have a socket head cap screw, which is one of these guys, I have one on my desk. Okay, here's a larger version of what we're going for. Um, but basically, it's got a head here. All right, that's cylindrical. It's got an Allen wrench socket in the middle there. Okay, and then the rest is like a bolt, right? It's got threads. So basically, this is gonna be able to, or a bolt like that is gonna be able to sit inside of that hole and be flush with this outer face there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, what we're gonna do, we'll do similar thing again. We're gonna sketch on this face. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make another hole, or yeah, center mark there. So we're gonna hover over the edge once again, find the center point of that, click in the point, click check. Now we're gonna do exit sketch, go to features, gonna go again to hole wizard, and instead of the socket head cap screw counter bore, we're gonna go to this guy here. If we hover over it, it says straight tap. Okay, so we're going to click on that and anti-inch, and it's already prompted us with a 256, and it already knows our location. So that should be good. Okay, so we're going to click check there. So now what we have is a hole. So if we look at this dead on, let's see what's going on. So basically, we have like sort of the outer rim here, okay, which is the clearance for the head of the bolt. Okay, the clearance for the larger diameter, the head. And then here, this, sorry, not that one, this radius, that edge there, okay, is clearance for the threads. Okay, so you see the threaded portion. That hole there that I'm highlighting is slightly larger than those threads. Okay, now next is this tapped hole on the other side. And we can see that that tapped hole, which I'm highlighting now, is indeed smaller than the hole we just talked about, the one that's this guy here. Okay. Now the reason it's smaller is because we are going to, after we print it, that is, thread those holes. Now this is going to be a small enough these are going to be fine enough threads to where you could probably just accomplish this with the screw itself. But there are tools that we use that are called taps, which allow us to put those threads in. So either way, we'll be using one or the other to get those threads in there. Okay, and it'll become a little bit more clear as to how this comes together when I start to put more parts together. So we could just we'll hang tight. So yeah, just hang tight and you'll see how that works out. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to repeat those two holes over on the other side. Okay, now I could go ahead and redraw everything and redo all that, but we're going to attempt to mirror it. Okay, so again, we're going to go to plane. I want to make a plane that's halfway between this face and this face. So let's click those two faces. So that face and that face. Cool. So it's prompting us to make our mid plane. We're going to click check. Okay, and it's made that plane in the middle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to mirror up here. So under the features tab, you should see mirror. So we're going to click mirror. Okay, and it's selected plane 3, which is the last plane we've made. Okay, and I'm going to go down to features to mirror, and we're going to go to that tapped hole and the socket head cap screw. Oh, and that cut extrude. We're going to do that one as well. So let's see how that works. Yay! All right, so that looks like it did it. Let's take a look at our final product. All right, that's looking pretty good. We're going to do a couple more things. First of all, let's do this. Yeah. Okay. So I kind of skipped this step early on, but that's not a big deal. So kind of going back a little bit. I should have mentioned this beforehand, but what we're going to do is, you see how where my mouse is. So if I go over to the tree view at the very bottom, there's that like line. So when I hover over it, that hand icon appears where my mouse icon was. We're going to go all the way back up right to the very first boss extrude that we made. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make the hollowed out portion in the middle there. So we're going to go to shell and we're going to shell this from that face. Okay, so we just click that face. And right now it's set the shell thickness at 0.1 inches. It's probably fine. We can make it 0.2. And again, you'll want to check what size cup you guys want and what size, basically the size of the wheelchair bars and the size of the cup before you do anything. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So let's go back. So it looks like once we did that, that boss extrude was still a little bit weird. So let's go back to this one. And instead of, oh, no, sorry, that's the sketch. So we're going to go back to that sketch, sorry, that boss extrude. Okay. We're going to edit the feature. Okay. And we're going to, instead of clicking that guy, we're going to click that guy. Okay. So instead of doing the inside portion of that circle, it's only going to do the outside portion where like the square is. Okay. Sorry about that. So just to reiterate what we just did there, we went and so we went all the way back to here and then we shelled it. Okay. And then we noticed that that this boss extrude was a little bit weird. No, not that one. This boss extrude was a little bit weird. So we modified it so that instead of, I'll just go back in and show you. So instead of that portion and that portion, so before we had this portion and this portion, so we just took out that portion so that it's just the outer bit, and that's all we really need. Okay, now let's go all the way back down to the bottom. And let's take a look. It looks like we have some rebuild errors on the sketch. So let's just go address those. Okay, cool. So we have that one. I'm going to delete that and then we'll get it to readjust. So I deleted the icon and then I brought it back to that point and I reestablished that connection. Sometimes SolidWorks does that to you. It's kind of annoying, but they're usually pretty easy to fix. Okay. So there we go. We fixed that portion. Now let's go back and we'll fix from that cut extrude. So let's go edit that sketch and save. Okay, so yeah, well, we're going to save this as cup holder for video. Okay, so yeah, we're in. So let's go back, right? So we're gonna go back in. We're going edit that sketch. Okay, it tells us there's something wrong with it because we have that exclamation point. But I don't see any rebuild errors in the sketch here. Okay, so let's go and we can go to we could go to edit sketch plane. Yep, there we go. Edit sketch plane. Okay, and it says we have a missing plane there. Okay, so I'm going to delete that and we're going to put that. Okay, and we're going to call that good. Okay, so it sort of lost track of where the plane was because we had changed that boss extrude geometry. So I just reaffirmed where that plane was. Okay, so there we go. All right. Nice. So we fixed all that. We now have no rebuild errors with our sketch. Okay. Or sorry, with our part. We're going to do a couple more things just for some strength and aesthetics. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick little fillet. So we're going to go to fillet. We're going to go there. We're going to go there. And we're going to go there. Okay. I'm also gonna want to, let's do that on the bottom as well. Okay, cool. And let's see, can I do it on the top? Okay, yeah, that should be good. And I like that as well. Okay, let's see, how big can we make this radius? 0.1. Yeah, we can make it 0.1. That should be fine. That should be fine. Okay, cool. So yeah, it looks a little bit more aesthetic. I didn't touch that edge there because that's sort of where the clamp is going to exist. Um, but you know what? We could actually add some more. So now that I'm looking at it, I can add that one, and I could add that one. Okay, that makes it look nice. And let's see, what does it do if I do the one in the middle? Okay, that I think might also look nice as well. Okay, cool. So yeah, I like that. You can choose to do those where you want. I think it like kind of makes it look a little bit more complete. And having fillets in there actually makes a corner a little bit stronger. It reduces your stress concentration. Okay. So yeah, that is it for this part. Sorry to jump around a little bit. We had some rebuild errors there, but I guess that gives you good experience for how it might work out on your part. So, anyways, yeah, next we will go on to do the other half of that clamp portion. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next part. All right, so to make the next part of the clamp, we'll go File, New, and we'll make a new part file. All right, so front plane, we're again can make that circle. All right, we're gonna make this one 0.5. Again, you'll probably need to use different dimensions for yours. I'm not exactly sure what dimension of the wheelchair will be. So we're gonna do 0.5. Let's make this a construction geometry. Let's go ahead and do another center point arc. We're going to go to the center, out to the right hand side, and down to there. Okay. Now what I want to do is come across with the center line, have it going both through both of those, and have it be horizontal. Okay, cool. And as you can see, that fully defined everything that we have. Okay, so next, let's make our other geometry. Okay, so we want this to match the other side. Um, I could use like global variables. I did that in the original version of the one that I made for this. But yeah, we'll keep this a little bit simpler now, just for the purposes of not going on a tangent about something else, I guess. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a line geometry. We're going to go up from this point here, straight up, and we're going to make this, first of all, we'll make it for construction. I should have just made it a construction line. And we're going to go 1/2 inch up. So that's how big the ledge was. Oh, wait. Wait, sorry. I screwed that up. Instead of that being 1/2 inch, it's going to be 1 inch. Sorry. And then the other part, is it 0.5? Let me just double check how wide this is. How wide did I make it? Yeah, okay, maybe 0.5. Okay, and then what is this? This is radius is 0.5. That means the diameter is 0.1. Okay. Um, so yep, let's go back. Yep, so that's 0.5. Then that diameter goes to 1. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make another 3-point arc. So we're gonna go to sketch. We're gonna do another 3-point arc. Okay, well actually let's do a 3-point circle, or yeah, 2-point circle, center point circle from there to there. Okay, we're gonna make that one for construction. All right. Let's do another quick center line from the edge of the circle, the inner circle to the edge of the outer circle. Um, and yep, that's for construction, so that is good. Okay. And then now we'll make the arc that will complete that circle. So I'm going to do actually I could do 3-point arc or center point arc. Why don't I do center point arc? Center point arc. Now that I made that point out there, I could come over here. Okay. And I'll do another quick center line from that point there to that point there. Okay. And as you can see, right now it's not horizontal. I'm just going to click the line and make it horizontal. And then that way everything should be fully defined. Okay. And that way we will only have 2 dimensions here that we need. Okay. Cool. So now we just need to make um some more kind of geometries. All right. Um, so what we'll do next is a tangent arc. Okay, so tangent arc. I'm gonna go from here to there. Okay, let's see. Does that? Yep, it makes it fully defined. It's tangent to both that line. You can see the icon there, and it's tangent to that line. Obviously, we can see the icon there. So great. So that'll be that side. Okay. Now we will need to make some kind of other geometry. Um, so let's figure that out. Basically, we're going to need to figure out, we're going to need to make a little bit of a lip here. So I'll show you generally what I mean. So I'm going to start with a line that comes out horizontal. We're going to go up vertical. Okay. Going to go over horizontal somewhere in there, and we're going to go up there somewhere. Okay. So yeah, it looks like I'm kind of messing up what I'm doing, but we're going to actually go over here to the trim entities tool. We're going to trim that and trim that, and we're going to trim that as well. Okay. So we have this like little step here. Okay. So now referencing what I had from before, we're going to go and we're going to change this geometry. Okay, so 0.325, that's this one. So 0.325. Okay, and I made all this geometry so that it'll work. This is going to be 0.2. So that it'll work with the bolts that we're going to be using. Okay, and then this edge is also 0.2, so I'm just going to shift click both of those and have them be equal. Okay, so now we can see we're again fully defined, and we have a little bit of a cutout here that allows us to to place our bolts. Okay, so let's exit that sketch there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude the thing. So we're going to go extruded boss base, and we're going to go, instead of up to surface, we're going to do blind, and we're going to go 0.5. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our clearances once again. Okay, and we're going to make those the same 0.3 clearance that we had from 0.3 diameter clearance that we had from before, but just kind of on the opposite side. So instead of doing it in the middle, we're going to do it on either face. So I'm going to grab our circle tool, go in the middle of that arc there, going out, smart dimension. Going to make this 0.3 inches in diameter. Okay, going to exit that. We're going to go to extruded cut. We're going to have this go to point two point yeah 0.135. Does that make sense? Yeah, so basically I want to give myself some clearance here. Okay, so I want the little portion that is left in the middle. So you can see hopefully after I do this. So basically I've left myself, yeah, let's just do 0.13. Okay, so if I do 0.13 from either side, then I will have then this will be, let me just show you. Okay, so cutting that side, okay, and now I will make another reference geometry. I'm going to go from that face there to that face there, making a midplane. And now let's quickly mirror that cut extrude. So extruded cut. Oh, no, sorry. X out of that. So we're going to go mirror. We're going to pick the plane. So we're going to click plane one. And then we're going to go to features to mirror, click the box where it says features to mirror, and we're gonna go to cut extrude one. All right, let's see if that works. It did. Okay, great. So it cut it off from either side. Now, if you remember, we made I'll just refresh your memory. We made that geometry on the inside here, and the width here is just gonna measure it for you. Not that. Not that. The width here is 0.25, if you remember. Now, I need to make this guy, where this is, a little bit narrower than that so that it'll fit. Now, there's a number of ways to do that, but right now that's 0.24, and I did that by modifying the model, which is an appropriate way to do it. If you're going to machine this, it might be appropriate to do it in a slightly different way, like within the toolpath that actually makes it. But anyway, it's narrower, which is exactly what we want. We want it to have clearance so that it can freely hinge. Okay. So now we're going to go here. We're going to sketch on that face. We're going to grab a point tool. Okay. And we're going to click it right in the middle of that arc, or center point of that arc. We're going to exit the sketch. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to features, whole wizard. And what we're going to do now is, instead of doing a tapped hole, we're going to do a straight hole. Okay. And then we're going to do screw clearances instead of all drill sizes. Okay. And we made this a normal clearance size for a number 2 screw. Okay. Which is 0.0960. So that'll be slightly larger than the major diameter of the screw. Okay. All right. So we'll hit check on that, and we can see we have our through hole geometry. Now, one last thing, and then we are done with this one. We're going to make a sketch on this face. So we're going to click that face, click sketch. Okay. We're going to create a center line that goes all the way across. So we're going to start in the middle of that line, of that edge. Okay. And we're going to again go to the middle of the edge on the opposite side. So if you start in the middle on that edge and you go to the middle on that edge, it's going to create that vertical line that is centered on this face there. Okay, so again, I'm going to grab the point tool, and I'm going to go to the midpoint of that line. So if I hover over the midpoint of that line, see how it gives me that midpoint icon? If I go off the midpoint of the line, it gives me that coincident icon. But that guy right there is the midpoint icon. All right, cool. So clicking that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to features. Oh, sorry, got to exit the sketch. Features, whole wizard, and we're going to do bottom. We're going to do the counterbore hole. And then instead of the binding head screw, we'll again go down to our socket head cap screw. And that'll be the correct one. So that's the one that we need. All right. So we're clicking check on that. All right. And next let's save this clamp for video. All right, cool. So next what we'll do is we'll combine both of these parts into an assembly. And we'll make sure that we have the tapped hole on the opposite side for the cup. Okay. Yep. So we'll see you in the next part of the video. All right. So picking up back where we left off, let's go ahead and set up our assembly. Okay. So we're going to go File, New, And we're gonna have it say assembly. Or yeah, make an assembly. Um, might edit this out. All right, there we go. Putting our clamp parts in there. Okay, so once both of the components are in there, we will need two of these clamps. Okay, so I'm going to Control C, Control V, um, Control V. There we go. So now I got two of them. Um, and now what I'm going to do, sorry, taking off my selection filters. There we go. Um, so once we have both of these in here, we could start placing them into their correct locations. All right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go up to mate. Okay. So under the assembly tab, we're going to go to mate and we're going to click the inside surface of one of the clamps. Okay. And we're going to click any of the circles on that one and click check. And then we're going to go over here, go to advanced mates. Okay, and we're going to do a with mate command. Okay, so we're going to go to the opposite faces on one of the parts, the ones that we want. So basically, we want those two faces to be smack dab in the middle of this face and this face. Okay, so you have the pink faces and the blue faces. You want them to be right in the middle of each other. Now, we have both of these parts mated the way that they kind of need to be. Oh, but we could see our whole entire thing here is floating, is able to move around, and that's no good. So let's constrain it. And as you can see, the first part we put in is also fixed. And so generally what I'll do is I will float that component. So I'm going to right click on that component in the tree view, and then you go to float it. So now everything is movable. But usually like in this part I would identify the cup holder itself as like the main component of the assembly. And so what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to mate that. So I'm going to click that guy, or yeah, let's click mate. Okay. And then from as I'm in the mate command thing here, the mate window, we could say, I could do the drop down from the tree view here and I could access all my different parts and everything. So I'm gonna go down here and expand the cup holder. Okay. So if I'm under the cup holder for video, that's what I just named the whole cup holder thing. I'm gonna find the origin. Okay, so I'm gonna click the origin of the cup holder, and then I'm gonna go all the way up to the assembly. So you see how in the tree view it shows the assembly. Under that, there's history, sensors, animation, and then your three planes, and finally the origin. Okay, so within the assembly, there's an origin, and then within each of the parts, there's also an origin. Okay, so I'm clicking the origin of the cup holder and the origin of the assembly, clicking both of those, align axes, clicking check. Now, those I shouldn't have gotten out of the mate, but those make it so that the cup holder is now totally fixed. And as you can see, with this hinge, it can articulate finally. Okay, and we can just check on a couple things. So I'm going to bring this all the way back, and we can sort of check where it'll start to interfere. Um, there are things I could do to like constrain it to those positions to see just how far of travel it will have. But it looks like this will do just fine. It should be able to open up and accept like a rail inside the on the wheelchair or whatever it's meant to be put onto. If we wanted to improve this, I suppose we could the simplest way to do it would probably be, yeah. So if I click that twice, okay, on that face, I could make this, I don't know, 0.4 if I wanted to. And then I could also do the same thing with this one. Click on that face, I think. Uh, oh, let's escape. And yeah, that cup holder. So I guess I'll have to go to the cut extrude, not that one. It's not letting me go directly to it. So let's go down to that cut extrude. Oh, that's because it's on this side. So if I click this, there we go. That's much simpler. So now I could go in and I can make this one also zero point 0.4. All right. Now it looks like it didn't change the things. So I'm just going to go up and rebuild the document. And you can see it just made all that stuff a little bit bigger. So now it has, yeah, actually a lot more travel if you decided that you needed to have that. Okay. So basically that we extruded, we cut in a couple of circles for to make that face and the corresponding faces like over there. Um, yeah, so I just made that a little bit bigger, and that allowed me to swing this a little bit farther. So yeah, you could just add a little bit more clearance if you wanted it there. Now, next, what we're gonna do is, well, first let's just finish up our mating. So we're gonna mate. Um, get rid of that face. So we're going to mate the inside face of that guy, and then also the inside face of that guy. Or I guess you could click the edge too. Now I could tell this one is going to be going the wrong way. And so if it's going the wrong way, you could go to the mate alignment thing down here. If you scroll down in the mate thing, and then you can just flip it around like that. Okay. So clicking check. And then again, we're going to do under advanced, we're going to do a with mate. So going there and to the opposite face. Oh, come on. With. Why won't it let me select you? There we go. That's got it. And then I'm going to do the opposite one or the corresponding ones over here. Okay, cool. So, yep, it looks like we're right in the middle there. We have a little bit of space here. Let's double check how much space we have. Oh, not that. I'm going to go to evaluate, measure, and here's my little measure box. It went to my other screen. So we're going to see from there to there. So the gap between those two is, yeah, 5 thou, 0.05005 inches rather. Okay. So I'm hoping that's enough. It might not be enough, but yeah, I think it should be. So we'll go with that. And that's all looking pretty good. All right. So next, we have just a couple more things to do. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to, let's do this. So assembly mate. Okay, I'm going to mate this guy. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Clear selections. I want to mate you with you. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. All right. So now, oh, I'm actually noticing something. For one, it does look a little bit goofy. Let's get out of mate. It looks a little bit goofy to have that fillet there. So let's go back to the fillet. Let's edit it. Oh, I gotta save the assembly. So now we're about to edit the part within an assembly. So I'm gonna just name the assembly yep, cup holder and clamp for video. Component, yep, save all. Okay, cool. So now I'm just gonna deselect that edge and the opposite edge because I don't really like how they met up there with where the clamp goes. Okay, so you see now the clamp, they just meet at an edge like that. So that's all that really changed. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is let's measure a couple things, or yeah, I guess just one thing. So I want to go from this edge, this point here, to the center of that hole. Okay, because I want to make a tapped hole in the cup holder part so that I can bolt these two together. Okay, so it looks like we got 0.25 by 0.225. Okay, so we'll try and remember that. Okay, so we're going to go over here. We're going to go and we're going to edit this part. We're going to sketch on that plane. Okay, so I edited the part and then I clicked on this face. And then once I click on the face, you're able to like make a sketch on it. So, let me do that a little bit slower. Okay. So if I click the face there, it gives me all these prompts so I can go in and edit the part. Then I could again right click the face or just click the face. And I could go and sketch. So that one is edit the sketch. So that edits the sketch that's involved with that particular feature. But I could just go and start a new sketch on it by hitting sketch. Okay. Now, personally, so I could do a number of things here, right? So I could take this point and then I could just make it in the center of that circle on the other part. I kind of don't like to reference other parts like that in an assembly all the time. Really, I kind of like to give it its own dimensions, and then maybe I'll make that dimension dependent on another. But really, I'm just gonna just make it have its own dimensions. That way, they're not like linked up like that in exactly the same way. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to that edge there. I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna go to here. I'm going to make this 0.225. Okay, and then we're going to make this 0.25. Okay, cool. So now that should be right on that location. All right, that's good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the square. I'm going to hold down shift and click all the edges of the square. And we're going to make that uh, for construction. All right. Uh, and then I should have done it as they were selected. So keep them selected, selecting all those lines. Okay. We're going to select all those. Um, and then we're going to go, actually, sorry, I'm going to edit that out. So, okay, once we make all those, I'm going to mirror that geometry about the center. Okay, so I'm going to find the center using a center line. Okay, going to the midpoint of that thing there, coming down like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these guys. We're going to go to mirror. We take all those guys. We're going to mirror it about that point. Okay, now we got the two squares. That should be good. Okay, cool. So now we have the two squares, and we could go ahead and start making the tapped hole. So we're going to go features, hole wizard. I'm going to go to tapped hole. I'm going to go to bottoming tapped, and we're going to do blind, and we're going to make it go down 0.25. It'll be halfway through the material. It should be fine. And the positions, we're going to click the face that we want both of them on. And then we're going to click those points. Okay, looking good. So you can see those go halfway through. That's what we want. Okay, great. So now we have the tapped hole, and on the clamp we have the counter bore. So we have this hole here that has clearance for the screw, and then this hole here that the screw will thread into. Okay. So yeah, those look pretty good. Yeah, I suppose we can let's quickly go. We could add in some bolts. So if I go over here to the right hand side, you can see the third tab down. It allows us to to access the toolbox. So we're going to add that in. Okay, we're going to go to ANSI inch bolts and screws. We're going to go to socket head screws, socket head cap screws. On. Okay, so I could drag this guy in like that. All right, and I'm going to try and get it to go into there. Okay, cool. And it looks like, yay, it's almost got the correct size. Okay, so we're going to do, instead of a 264, a 256. Okay, and that should be good. So if you put it in the hole, it kind of like prompts you, it like prompts you to like do it right. Um, the length, let's see, what is 1 inch? Whoa, that's way too long. So we're gonna try, oh, what, a half inch? There we go. Oh, that's pretty good. Um, let's see, what if we did 375? Would that look a little bit better? Too short. So I guess 4375, which is 7/8. So, I mean, we'll probably end up using half, um, because I think that's what we have. But yeah, no, I might order some of these anyways. So that looks pretty good. So we can put these all in all the locations that we need. Okay. So I could take this guy and I could go right in there. And we need, so yeah, we'll need four of these right in there. Oh, and yeah, the other one, I didn't mate fully the way I needed to. Let's see if we could do that. Okay, good. And then now I can very quickly go assembly, mate, and just mate those two surfaces. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we have all the bolts. So this is like exactly how it should look in real life when we finally go to make it. And yeah, you might end up doing something slightly different. And if you wanted to use different size bolts, these might be a little small. And by that I mean it might be so small to where the threads are so fine to where they won't really like set themselves in the material. I could also get some threaded inserts for this project in the future. Um, but since like we don't really have the threaded inserts for this size, and we already have these 256 bolts like just lying around, I figure we just try and tap them. But I don't know. It might work better with some threaded inserts. Anyways, that is all I have for this. Or actually, no, sorry. After this, we're gonna go into printing this. Okay. So yeah, I'll do that. I guess now. Okay, so Cura is open. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start saving these parts as STLs. Okay, so we're gonna go over here. We're gonna go File, Save As, Save As. Gonna go to STL, saving that. Yes, and then we're gonna go over to the clamp and do the same thing. STL. Cura. All right, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up Cura. Uh, yeah, so this assignment is for a camp. Um, but yeah, basically several other videos I have show you how to set up and use Cura. Um, you're either going to be using a Creality Ender 3v3 SE or one of these Prusa minis, okay? Or yeah, a Prusa mini. So yeah, I have another video that shows them how to download and install that. You can review that if you're wondering about how to do that. Okay, so we're gonna keep it with the Creality. This one is gonna be a little bit bigger than the Prusa, but you'll still be able to fit this part on either of them, no problem. So we're gonna go File, Open Files. Um, let's go to Home. Yep, clean up for video. All right. So the way I'm gonna orient the cup holder, so I'm gonna rotate that guy around just like that. Let's see, where did the clamp go? It's underneath. There you go. Okay, so we're going to scoot this one over a little bit. All right. The clamp itself, I'm going to go Control C, Control V. All right, so we got two of those going. And so yeah, so that should be all we need to print. Let's talk a little bit more about specifics. So I'm gonna go to the basic collapse all categories. How do we go to the really basic settings? There we go. Go to the recommended. So yeah, to navigate there, go um yeah, basic and then the recommended, and that should be all we really need for what we're doing here with this. Um so we go to 20% infill pattern is cubic. We can make the shell thickness 0.08 because that'll sorry 0.8 because that'll make it two wall layers thick. And then we're going to also do some support and we're going to do normal support. All right, let's see how this does it. The preview. Okay, cool. So one thing I have is I have bed adhesion on. So basically to do that, so you got to go to show custom and then you got to go to advanced. Okay. And then you can go to build plate adhesion and you can see brim is selected. So you want to select the brim. I like to use a brim. You could also do a raft, but that's probably not super necessary. But yeah, we can go back to the brim. Um, yeah. So orientation. Yeah. So why did I want the cup holder to be up? Let's slice it again so that we could see what I'm talking about. So why did I want it to be cup up, not cup down? Well, so the inside cavity here, you need to put support on the inside if it were upside down from how it was oriented right now, because the bottom of the cup would basically fall through. So I decided that there would be kind of less infill structure and infill material underneath that portion than there would be if it were the upside down from where it is right now and you had to infill all inside the cup. Okay. The two clamps don't really need anything. Or yeah, or they would, what I should say is they would be able to print probably without support, except for maybe that portion of the clamp. But either way, this looks pretty good. Um, and yeah, we could in class we could talk about more specifics, whether or not it's the Prusa or the Ultimaker, but really this is a pretty simple part. Um, we shouldn't have to mess too much with any other sort of tolerance aids, so something to get it within the right tolerance or to the right size. Um, yeah, this all should be fine simply because, like, we have pretty loose dimensions anyways, and I should have given ourselves, enough clearance as well. Okay. Um, so yeah, thank you very much. I'm gonna print this, and yeah, I guess you'll see me in the next part of the video assembling it.